Harley Quinn returned this week before Christmas with a brand new episode entitled Finding Mr.Right. I'm Cape Joel, and in case you didn't already know, this is the series where I take a closer look at the episode that was, give my thoughts, and shout at any Easter eggs I find. So, keeping with the season-long storyline, Harley is still trying to make it as a solo supervillain. She's gathered a ragtag crew of other outcast villains, and it seems like their new heists are going pretty damn well, Blue Bank die notwithstanding, of course. The only real problem is their big crimes are getting no media coverage. The news would rather cover Joker's smaller crime sprees, if only because Batman shows up to stop him. Poison Ivy, once again being the voice of reason here, hilariously mentions, "Isn't it better this way, to do crimes and not actually get caught for them?" Speaking of Ivy, we meet her landlord this episode, Cy Borgman, a Jimmy Palmiotti creation who was a huge part of Harley's New 52 solo series, of which this show takes very much inspiration from. He's voiced by Jason Alexander, which makes him the second character to be voiced by a Seinfeld alum. Borgman is upset at Ivy because Harley's crew keeps wrecking the place, a fact of which they are completely oblivious about. And because Ivy is a good friend, and also because maybe she doesn't want to lose Harley, she refuses to call her on her bullshit. Naturally, too, Harley isn't listening to any of her friends' advice, a fact of which that even gets lampshaded this episode, and she figures that her next big step in villaindom is getting herself a proper arch nemesis. And where do you start with that? Well, the internet, of course. There's an app for positively everything. Granted, Harley and her crew aren't exactly internet savvy, so Clayface calls in a ringer, King Shark, here voiced by the always wonderful Ron Funches. I've been a Funches fan forever, and the man was born to voice act. The joke that this aggressive-looking shark man has such a sweet voice never doesn't work for a good laugh. Also, just so happens that Ron gets another chance to be in a funny DC show that won't get cancelled. Powerless, you already forgot about that. King Shark, of course, in the comics was briefly on the New 52 incarnation of the Suicide Squad along with Harley herself, and the fun references and deep cuts don't stop there. Shark almost gets Harley Tommy Tomorrow to be her nemesis, Tomorrow being a very Flash Gordon-looking hero from the 40s, and even more proof that the writers of this show really know their DC comic history. None of that matters though, because Harley has her sights set much higher than forgotten Golden Age heroes. She wants Batman as her arch nemesis. After all, he's top dog in Gotham City, and getting him would be a great way to stick it to the Joker. First, she has to steal the Batmobile though, in a funny scene that calls back to her "he fucks bats" bit from episode 1. This plan ends up backfiring in a major way though, when Harley doesn't get the attention of Batman, but instead his sidekick Robin, but not just any Robin, Damian Wayne Robin. If you weren't reading comics back in 2006 when this character premiered, I don't think I can possibly explain just how much people hated this kid at first. It got better eventually thanks to writers like Peter Tomasi, but the comedy take they find for Damian in this show is just sheer perfection. Basically, they play him up to be the ultimate spoiled rich kid with a whiny, nasally voice. "Do you know who my father is? I was raised by assassins." Heck, in a nice twist, they even make him a liar too on top of everything else. Harley Quinn chooses not to fight him, feeling no self-respecting adult villain has a child arch nemesis. I mean, hey, even Deathstroke only menaces teens, am I right? But Robin keeps pushing it on the late-night talk show circuit, driving home the narrative that he and Harley actually are arch nemesises, which drives Harley and her friends positively insane. They get so mad, in fact, they take a trip to Metropolis to try and get Lois Lane to print a full retraction, even though every villain in this world worth their salt knows that you don't mess with Lois Lane unless you want Superman trouble, and Superman trouble is exactly what they get, here voiced by James Wolk. Wouldn't you know it, from Watchmen to Superman all in the same year, good for him. This scene truly had me in stitches, watching Superman being super supportive to Damian, who just wasn't having any of it. In the end, the only way Harley and her crew see fit to repair their street cred is to set a trap for Robin wherein he will be forced to admit that he lied. Granted, at first Harley thinks maybe it would just be a lot easier if they killed the kid, a dark joke that becomes both darker and funnier when you stop and realize in the New 52 Harley did actually kill some kids as part of one of her many attempts at a new origin. They don't reference that much anymore, and for pretty good reason. This plan would have worked too were it not for King Shark literally smelling blood in the water and going all Jaws kill crazy on everyone, proving that this guy can be both brains and brawn for Harley's new team. It gets so bad that Harley herself is forced to jump on in and save the kid, proving that while she might be bad, she's not a monster. Of course, when Batman makes the scene, he doesn't see it that way, although he does see fit to use his bat shark repellent in another wonderful Adam West callback. This all leads into the wonderfully chaotic madcap finale wherein pretty much everyone fights with everyone else. Batman wants to bring Harley in for almost killing his son, Poison Ivy steps on in to save her friend from jail time, and the Joker wants a piece of everyone else after feeling that Harley is trying to steal his arch nemesis on national TV. The best part is the small little gags while all of this is going on. We cut away from the action to see other members of the Justice League watching the fight, and these are gags that last for maybe a second but are really strong, like Aquaman underwater sitting on the toilet watching on his phone, Wonder Woman in her pajamas with a milk mustache eating cereal that is her own brand of cereal, to Superman having sushi with Lois in full costume and just kind of shrugging when he sees everything going on in Gotham like he's saying, let Batman deal with it. The talk show graphics also change too while the fight progresses, saying stuff like Harley, Joker, Batman, love triangle. Now Harley barely manages to slink away, sadly nowhere closer to finding Mr. Right of the title. Ivy says that maybe she should just do the crimes that she cares about and eventually the one will reveal themselves, a conversation that is actually reflected in a very humanizing matter with Damian and Batman, wherein actually finding an arch nemesis is a kind of in-universe allegory for losing one's super virginity. A topic of which Batman is totally okay talking about with his son until Damian actually broaches the subject of real sex, and then Batman can't be bothered. And so that was Finding Mr. Right, and as far as I'm concerned, this was the funniest episode of the show yet, a testimonial to what the show is capable of and the kind of stories they can tell. For one, it's a laugh-a-minute riot filled with so many types of gags, comic book deep cuts, what's not to love? We get introduced to a ton of fun, interesting characters who you know are going to stick around and be bigger deals down the line, like Damian, Borgman, and King Shark. Heck, we even do some very important character work here. Harley and Ivy's friendship is challenged multiple times throughout the episode, and with Ivy getting evicted at the end, you wonder how much longer will their friendship be able to last if Harley keeps going the way she's going. All in all, I thought this one was a real winner to be sure, so that will just about do it for me. Thanks again everyone for watching. I've been Cape Joel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.